Yes, we are live.
Greetings, everybody. If you're out there or catching up on the replay, thank you for tuning in to last week's live, and here we are today.
And today we actually wanted to speak, or in our plan, we wanted to speak about something else. But then yesterday, Simon, we had a sharing and we sat once again with a sort of, with a pattern that we've been experiencing and are relating for many years now. We keep coming into that same loop, and we've been, in my perspective, we've becoming better at it, but we're still sometimes falling into the trap of this of this lack of intimacy really happening in our relating, because we're doing a lot of things, both of us separately and together, and there's a lot of stuff going on in our lives, and then often we find ourselves in the evenings very not able to have a lot of connection with each other, not able to really spend the hours that we want to spend with each other in intimacy and in relating. And when that starts to take over our lives, when that starts to take over, and more nights are not spent in connection and harmony, not in togetherness, not in this space of aliveness, then we end up at some point in this phase of frustration, where Simon gets frustrated and sort of wants out, or wants things different, and it gets very it's like at the moment we're thinking of not cohabitating anymore. So Simon would like to, or suggested that he might need to just find his own space and live in his own space, not together with me. And we're just in this interesting phase where yet again something in our relationship has to move, has to change. And I have been thinking a lot about escaping intimacy, and that's something that we do, all of us do, in relationship at some point, because we get complacent, and then we have these exit strategies, and phones can be exit strategies. Both of us found ourselves in the last couple of days, weeks, speaking to each other, and one person is on the phone and the other person speaks to you, or one person is on the computer, and we're not actually relating, we're not actually honoring each other. We're just like two business partners that live in the same room, and at night they sleep next to each other, but there's not that deeper connection that we both know is possible, but we both don't take enough time. We don't take it as, we don't take it as priority as it should have. And in this achiever culture that we're all living in, where it's all about like getting this done and getting that done, and the intimacy or this connection, this is quite hard to strive for. It's quite hard to bring that into your life, because we are so addicted to these little, these thumbs up and the goals, and I achieved that and that project. And we have a lot of projects right now between us birthing, and there's books coming out, my album. So there's so much happening, which is beautiful. But when the relationship starts to suffer, I feel something really is going wrong. So that's where we are. We're really right now at this point where we're not fully knowing what's happening, where we're going, where we're...
Speak for yourself.
Well, so far, even yesterday, Simon wasn't fully sure what's happening. Maybe today he knows. But I just wanted to show up from this place where I'm really in this raw space, where there's I'm learning more and more to learn to deal with some of these emotions that are coming up for me when we go into the cycle. Because when Simon withdraws, I get very needy and dependent, and it's very...
But maybe you should also talk, because it's about context. Because when somebody comes on a call like this and they hear it, they don't get the full context of the thing. So you're just saying a few sort of blanket statements from last night. It doesn't really probably make fully sense. So maybe you also want to talk about the isolator and the fuser that happens. Maybe there's something like, give somebody something in terms of like what happens when one wants something that they're not getting, and then the other one sort of can't give it and pulls back. Yeah, you want to talk a bit about that?
So in imago therapy, they talk about the isolator and fusor dynamic. And since I've been knowing about this, or since I've studied this, it's very beautiful. It brought a lot of clarity to all my relating. Doesn't mean that I'm not falling prey to this dynamic, but basically the isolator and the fusor dynamic happens in every single romantic relationship, just because that's the work. That's where we're learning to work through these parts. So there's an isolator and a fusor in every relationship, and they meet in their wounded places. So the isolator is somebody who's had an issue of being absorbed by a parent, or being overly absorbed by a parent in their young years. So they feel constantly that they need to fight for their autonomy, for their freedom. They constantly feel that if there's somebody who's a little bit too needy, they're going to die in the embrace of somebody else because their freedom is taken away. And the fusor, on the other hand, is somebody who's had an issue of abandonment in their childhood. So when they get because of that abandonment, they constantly in adult life seek this person to complete you. You seek this person that finally stays with you, and you're never going to be alone again. And so these dynamics, as you can see, they match perfectly. Match made in hell, really. When you go into that dynamic, the fusor wants to run, and the merger, or the isolator wants to run, and the fusor just runs after him, trying to get something from the one who wants to have this freedom, you know. So whenever I share this dynamic, people are like, oh my God, this is what's happening in my relationship. Right. It doesn't always mean that you're just one. I mean, I'm mainly a fusor and he's mainly an isolator, but we shift, and then sometimes you have this breaking point, and all of a sudden you're like, even as a fusor, Sam's just left the building.
I left. That's it, I'm going. It's enough.
The isolator has left the building. So
I'm leaving. I'm never coming back.
So when the isolator, anyway, when this dynamic happens, we often go through this, like, you know, very destructive relationship pattern. And all relationship patterns, they somehow base themselves on this destructive thing where one doesn't want to give and the other one just is very, very needy. And this has happened many times for us in our relationship.
Yeah, so I just want to speak to that briefly. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Gail, there, dropping in to ask some questions. If we get to those, we will answer those. But if not, maybe in the answers. So there's a great book, I don't know if some of you know it, called Astrology for the Soul by Jan Spiller. And this book, when I first read it, super pissed me off, because I was like, how does some woman know what's going on with different characters and personalities based on looking at the north node of the moon, right? And I'm not really massively into astrology, but I'm curious by it, and I find a few people that I listen to quite fast, you know, quite amazing how they share their knowledge. Anyway, there's one in here that talks really about your problem-solving aspects of your characters based on the graph that she shows. It's phenomenal. Everybody we've ever shared this book to goes, oh my God, does the same as I did. Like, no, that's just like me. That's me. How do they know that? Yeah, how do they know that? And one of the things that book, the reason why I'm sharing it with you, one of the things that book highlighted for me was that I have like a tantrum child inside of me. And that tantrum child inside of me needs everything his way, the way it is. And if he doesn't get it his way, then he causes havoc, right? And also, it also highlighted a couple of key personality behaviors that were playing out in here, which is one is Indara's north node, is that she doesn't know how to ask for what she wants. So it's a nightmare when you're asking somebody all the time what they want and they can't answer, right? It's like, what do you want? What do you want? I don't know. What do you want? Just work out what you want, right? For me, it's like, it's easy to ask what you want. Ask me, I tell you what I want, and so on. Not every time, but you know, you get the gist, yeah? And for me, my one was that I always will run away. Is it right? That was what it was. I will always want to run away, right? From commitment. Was it about commitment, wasn't it? No, but for you, for him, it's really about support, and he needs to learn to move from the me to the we. So if it's all about him, me, then he gets really stuck in that place, and he doesn't get any energy from everybody. Yeah. So we're in this interesting dynamic where if I'm a little bit lost in life, and I don't know what I want, and I don't know what I should do,
I don't know what to ask for. And he's the supporter. He needs to actually check in with me, and I need to tell him what I need so that we can lift ourselves up. But if I don't know what I want or what I need, then he can't support me. And then he goes into that place of like, and you're not doing this for me, and you're not doing that for me, and actually you're not doing this for me, and you know what, this is all shit, and this is not working, and you're not working, and this relationship is not working. So we go into this dynamic, hell to hell, or we go into a dynamic to heaven, but it's our choice. And it's really, this book has helped us to understand this.
So it's that book, it's called Astrology of the Soul.
For the Soul, from Jan Spiller.
Okay, basically, even if you don't resonate with everything that's in there, it's great. It gives you some real key points to look at. And for me, it uncovered some great behavior problems. And it does for everybody we go on retreat to and so on. We just share it with people, right? Take what it... Anyway, let's get to the grit of what was coming up. So last week, we did a beautiful live with you all, and it was called The 5 Things We've Learned, right? And one of the things that keeps coming up for me is I'm so... Some would say I'm hard on myself, right? But I'm so, I don't even want to say like attached to impeccability of the word. Maybe I am a bit too attached to impeccability of the word. But if I say something, I rather say it and do it and follow through, or don't say it, right? So when we start talking, if me and Dara are on a workshop, or we're on a retreat, or we're on a Facebook Live, and we're telling you that we've somehow worked something out or got something down, right? And we're like, this is how we want to be, yeah? And then we're not showing up like that in this dynamic. That super pisses me off. That's it. It's just straight as it can be. Don't tell me, don't give somebody advice over here if you ain't living it here, right? Because I don't want to live my life like that. And I don't know how many of you watching this today feel the same, but if we want to create a new world, if we want to create a new vision, if we want to show what relating is possible in here, from relating with each other to being parents, to being, let's say, shining examples of what humanity can move into, then we have to be sharp on our old, ignorant, unconscious, destructive, arrogant, egotistical, dominating, patriarchal, motherfucking, horrible behaviors.
That was a long list.
Simple, right? Simple, but it's not simple. Yeah, I'm conditioned just like every single one of you. And if you don't think you're conditioned, you've probably got a problem.
You gotta look at that closer.
I would check that out, because I don't know. I don't want to make out I know too much in this beautiful mystery of life, but I do know how deeply conditioned I have been from school, from my growing up on the estate that I grew up, the beliefs that were instilled in me by my peers, and by the films I watched, and the education that I gained from being a criminal and everything else, right? So I know I'm conditioned, and I'm hard, and I'm strong, and I've got this warrior mentality, and it's hard for me to soften sometimes, and it's hard for me to let myself off the hook, and so on. So when Dara says like, oh, Simon's like thinking that he wants to leave and so on, I'm not saying that. This is what I try to explain to Dara. I'm not saying that I want to leave necessarily this unit. This unit's beautiful. But my thing is, and you know this anyway, right? You've known this for 5 years, something has to die in the relationship. Behaviors have to die. Actions have to die. You know, like Dara said, if you're coming to talk to me and I'm on the phone and you're on the phone and we're not looking at each other in the eyes and giving each other honoring and respect, then that has to die. If that means that we don't work in the same place together, great. Then that means there needs to be another place. So then we have to create what is needed so that there's a hub or a place where we can go to work and do our work, and then we're not on the computers when we want to engage and connect, even though we work together. But that's just one example. We don't work in the bedroom where we're making love. At the moment, we're visiting Dara's and Mum's, Dara and Dara's parents. My parents. Right? And my desk is right there behind us. This is the desk, this is the bedroom, and we're all in here. So I'm working, doing my thing, writing the book that I'm writing, and I'm all in my head. And then, you know, Dara comes in late after she's put Maya to sleep and wants to come and get into bed. And there's no like shift from heady in the head stuff, doing this, to okay, let's take a breath, let's do some practices. Remember what was number 5 of last week?
Orgasmic potential.
No. What was one of them? Practices, about the practices.
Oh yeah, when we forget our practices, we lose.
Right. So then I'm like, this week, I'm like,
we just lost.
We just like talking about practices. I'm doing my personal practices, I was doing hers. Where's the collective practice? And if you watched that first live last week, you will see that at one point I said, it's all about personal practice, it's all about personal practice. And Dara looked around at me and went, and partner practice, right? Yeah, remember that? Go back on the video. It's all there live for you to see. And then I'm this week, where's the partner practice, right? I ain't seeing it. So I better not be putting out any more live saying it's all about the partner practice if there ain't no partner practice, right? So you're getting the gist, yeah? So shit has to die. So escaping into intimacy is not showing up as the grandest version of ourselves. And what has to happen for that to happen? Old habits, old behaviors, certain words you use, certain resistances you have to move through. All of that has to happen. Because I have to die to my, what is it last night? The stubborn, self-righteous, projecting, you know, I do a lot of this. Why hasn't she done it? Yeah. Why hasn't she started the personal practices? Or, you know, what's she doing? Look how she's engaging with me, right? Rather than just stepping into the maturity and going, which I can do and I have done. But it's like, okay, put that down, put this down. Hey, can we come together? I love you. You're amazing. We haven't been connecting. You've got a lot going on. I've got a lot going on. Should we take 10 minutes together right now? Should we go for a walk by the river? Should we do something? And then what happens is I then beat myself up because I didn't do that. So that's what I'm trying to communicate.
And then that's the next cycle. It just gets into the next, like, this is what the pain body does. That's what our wounded inner children do to us. Yeah, we don't do it, then we think, oh, we could have done that. Then we beat ourselves up about not doing it, and we just keep ourselves in the pain rather than stepping out of it. Like this identifying with all of that crap that goes on inside of us and moving forward into a space where we can actually really connect. And one of the things that we learned from Georgia and Silver the other day, or I did when I read their book, what is it called? At the Edge of Co-Creation, or something like this.
Co-creationship or something, no?
At the edge of co-creation. It's a beautiful book. Anyway, they said in order to get out of this mechanism when we are in the moment, like really unhappy with what's happening between us, when you're like full of expectations and full of this, like, oh, you haven't done that and you haven't done that, and I want you to do that, to get cleared into what in this moment is the need that you're having. What is not met right this moment? Not yesterday, not the day before, not last week, but right now. What's the need that you need to connect to? And then when you connect to that need, then all of a sudden we can work with that, and we can soften through meeting that need, if we can, of course, only if it's possible. But often we're so disconnected in our head and occupied with everything that's not gone right in the last couple of days, and we're frustrated and locked into frustration that we can't allow the new thing to come through, which the door into that is, what is your need right now? What's the need that you're having that's not met? Which we
often ask anyway.
Yes,
and we often invite people to do as well, right? It's like, yes, I like that, Gail. Yes, standards versus expectations takes a lot of pressure off, because you then take responsibility rather than project out. Exactly, right? And there's a beautiful, some of you might follow Marshall Rosenberg or his MVC, right? Which is, you know, all violent communication is a tragic expression of our unmet needs. Mm-hmm. So if I tune into what my unmet needs were this week, because I was meeting a lot of my own needs, I was creatively expressing, I was doing my solo practice, my orgasmic yoga practice, I'm engaging with a group of people, I've got a lot of happening with other people. But what happened was this connection here was drifting apart, just because we weren't making that, and we were still doing stuff together. Listen, for everyone watching, our relationship is pretty epic in sense of we just want it to be like, you know, rocket. He
wants it to be an UFO, not just a rocket ship.
Yeah. It's like I'm just like, if we get to this point, it's like, okay, great, this seems to be going cool, so we can go to this point. So, this is cool, we can go to this point. And of course, there's a never-ending desire for more in that, or better. But I just know what my grandest version of myself looks like and feels like. And so when that's not in place, I start to notice where it's dropping short. Basically, that's the nutshell. But I wanted to just say something about, because you said about escaping intimacy, and maybe you can put in the comments, or you can even share with us or whatever, because this is really insightful for us. Is that my big thing is about how we can evolve as human beings, and that relationship is one of the most amazing places that we get to really look at our wounding, be mirrored with the things that we're not seeing, and to heal, right? Relationship is the platform to heal. So for me, it's like that's really the basis of what we have as individuals to see ourselves, or say see the blind spots.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So it's not about like running away from that, because Dara said last night, well, if you want to leave and then have this, it's like, no, I'm not. I know that it's just going to go to the next place. It's not like I'm trying to run away from Dara and go to the next place and think that that's not there. I'm interested in seeing what needs to be uncovered, right? But what I don't like is this confinement that can happen in relating. So for me, if that means taking yourself away from the relationship for a while, or whatever that looks like, to give yourself some space to see what really needs to be looked at, then all of a sudden it's like, you know, again, tell us this, if you've been in relationship for a long time, you have a week apart, 2 weeks apart, sometimes even 2 days apart, and all of a sudden you're like, you start to remember and see loads of things about that opposite person that you love so much, or that you didn't communicate, and you get clarity, right? So clarity comes sometimes from just, you know, getting, let's say, a different perspective.
A bit of space.
Yeah, get a bit of space.
The relationship is its own entity. It needs space sometimes. It's like a child in between us. Yeah, the relationship is not just me and his needs. It's like the relationship has its own needs, and they need to be met. And sometimes that means taking some space. Sometimes that means taking some time for each other, for the relationship, and actually, you know, connecting and really coming together.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any questions, but I want to just finish on one thing. Gail Evans is dropping in here today. I love that. Check if the running away is a wounded inner child. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, everything that's running is wounded.
It is always, and that's what I often, when Simon gets into that space, I also tell him, and I have that impulse as well. At some point, when I get to my edge of like how much can I stretch to open? I have this thing. I'm just like, I just fuck it.
Yeah, but
I just don't want to do this anymore. This is not, and that's my wounded child. And
yeah.
when I know, and then when I get that feeling, yesterday night I laid in bed and I was like, wow, because I was so hoping to be on the other side. I was so hoping to be like him, just once, to just feel like it's over. And then I had that feeling, and then I realized, oh my God, that's so hard. This feeling is so much harder than what I'm going through, where I'm like, oh, please. That's much easier to deal with. But this feeling of like rejection is such a powerful feeling that so overrides, you know, your heart level. It overrides the space of, can I open, can I breathe into this? It's very, very tough feeling. So I had lots of compassion last night in bed. It's like, oh no, I don't want to have this feeling.
Yeah, but you know what I want to just say for everyone watching, because I'm sure you've had this experience. We love to see the funny side of this, right? Jamie calls them the special need freaks, right? Well, you know what's so hard for me sometimes is I have a certain, let's just say, a certain level of awareness, right? And so when you're watching yourself acting in a certain behavior, and you're seeing what actually is going on, but for some reason you don't seem to think that you can do anything different. That's what you're doing. But watching it is so absurd. The immaturity, the whatever, like even Gail was saying on the comments, right? The wounded child, right? The wounded child acts in such hilarious ways. Like, for example, like, you know, getting the duvet and leaving, or like going into the bathroom and going, oh, I need to go to the toilet, and then going in the bathroom, just laying on the floor putting a towel behind my head and just drinking in the bathroom. Going, I just prefer to not go back there for now, right? It's like, I don't want to face this right now. And then this idea of like touching, and you touch and you're like, you touch, but you're not really touching, right? It's like, yeah, no, it's not really that. It's more when the hug comes, and the hug is like a sort of hug where, okay, I'm in the hug, but I don't really want to be in this hug right now, but I'm here. I'm showing up, right?
Showing up.
And it's like the resistance is just hilarious. And then there was another moment. I mean, there's so many when the wound, the wounded tenderness is alive. There's so many little moments. There was one other moment. Oh, yeah, that's it. We have this sharing practice which we share with everybody, which is epic, right? And we've been doing it for years and so on. And of course, in the sharing, we're not just like shouting at each other. We're listening, active listening, sharing to each other. But you just notice how, for example, at some point, Dara would said like, oh, so we can just come out of it right now, right? Because we know we can just come out of it right now. And of course, we know we can, right? But when you're in it, the little wound is like, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. No, can't come out right now. Need to analyze this one a little bit more and need to just like intellectually summarize this one based on the philosophy that I learned from 25 different people that I've read in the last couple of years.
And our history.
And we need to talk about our history as well. And coming together right now would be absurd. Why would we do that? Because we really wanted to come together. We really wanted to come together, didn't we? Physically, we wanted to come together. But doing that right now would be absolutely crazy. We've got to this point. And
now we need to talk it through.
Yeah. Why would we turn back now? We got this far. Why turn back now and have connection?
It's funny. We had that moment yesterday where we were like just this close to just dropping it. And then we went back into the head and into analyzing and into arguing, not arguing, but kind of like tit for tat, and nothing really changed. So, yeah, that's what happens sometimes. And that's just what we wanted to share, because I think very often people look at us and we see our website, the stuff we do, radical intimacy, naked, all these things that we're creating and we're sharing about our relationship. But it's important to know that we are in this quagmire too. We are in the swamp. We are in the darkness sometimes, and we're really just doing our best to become more loving people with each other, alone. We're doing our personal practice. We're doing it all as we suggest, and we falter and we fail and we stumble and we
fail forward,
and then we get back up, dust ourselves off, and start walking again.
Yeah. So that's what we wanted to do with all of you today. We just, you know, I took care of myself this morning. I did my parenting. Dara did her parenting. I woke up this morning and said like, hey, there's certain things that have to change and die, and that's cool, and we need to pick up on them. And then we come back into connection. And yeah, and face the fears, and then start to communicate that. And one of the greatest tools is being able to communicate and bring light to it. So we're doing that with you today live. We changed what we were going to do to show up and share this. We hope it benefits you in some way. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. That's okay. If you got this far, thank you so much. And yeah, come and bring your special need freaks to hang out with our special need freaks, and we can dissolve them together.
We can do some group therapy.
We can do group special need freak together at any time, and yeah, and rise in love, right? Give our, I love what Gail said here, give our little tantrums the space to express themselves. Give them a bit of chocolate if that's what they need, a little hug, pat on the back, tell them they're doing okay, they're all good, we love them as well, and then continue on this mission of life, the radical mission of life. So thank you for seeing our transformation in this. I hope that you can notice from the beginning to the end that we've also been able to, through being with you, your virtual circle, this virtual circle, we've been able to express ourselves a bit more today.
Yeah, and actually this really, it has helped.
Of course it has. I can see in your face.
Yeah, I can see it in yours too.
Come on, mine was already like this. See what I mean? See what I mean? What can you do? What can you do? What can you do, eh? All right.
So yeah, it's so beautiful. Thank you for watching us. Thank you for being a space for us to evolve and keep evolving yourself. So that's what it's about in this freaking life.
Remember, it may help you, it may not. Check it out.
Pretty awesome book. Much love to you guys.
Thank you so much. And Gail and everyone else that engaged, thank you so much.